Hey guys, it's time to Neveson show again, and we have pretty big news in regards to the latest performance tests in Cyrodiil. For those of you who don't remember, or for those of you who aren't caught up, the first round of Cyrodiil performance tests had to do with global cooldowns or global AoE cooldowns, and various other things like the removal of cross healing, which was unfortunately or fortunately added back in with the latest round of testing, which had more to do with the removal of proc sets. Now, a lot of players, when they think about proc sets, they think about things like Veladreth, Baylor, whatever other things like that does damage, like Unfathomable Darkness, Avara Scale, and Crimson Twilight. But when ZOS defined proc sets, they defined it as a set that has to go through multiple server checks, and this of course includes sets like Seducers, Clever Alchemist, stat affecting sets are as well. So yeah, right now, from my previous video in regards to this, in regards to the no proc test, I shared a list of the sets that are working, and it's a very limited number of sets, like 14 or 15 I believe right now, somewhere around there. Basically just stats, just stat sets or stat pieces. Anyway, we have pretty big news because they are going to continue the removal of proc sets until the third quarter, which is until like September. So that's another 6 months at least of max Zork meta and Stam Blade, Stam and Stam Crow meta. But yeah, I don't know. But let's go over the news, and I'll kind of wrap up the video with my thoughts on it. Thanks to everyone for participating in this latest Cyrodiil test where we disable all proc sets. And also a reminder that the double AP is also ending this Monday with a new patch and with the ending of this test. So we will have double AP for the next 2 days. Similar to what many of you have noted in your feedback, we found this test did not impact performance in a measurable amount. If anything, there was a very slight degradation of performance at times, likely due to a higher population of players in Cyrodiil. I want to say 2 things about this. First one, for me, when I'm playing in Blackreach, Greyhost, or wherever else, or even Ravenwatch, performance seemed largely the same most of the time. And by that I mean when I went to Greyhost, even with like fucking 1 or 2 bars, not even pop locked Greyhost, it was still lagging. I will still say the same thing I said during that one-on-one, ESO podcast interview with Christopher ESO. Greyhost is the most cursed campaign in the history of ESO. True Flame, whatever, anything else before that, before Greyhost, it was far better. Greyhost there's something wrong with Greyhost. Maybe it's the name. Maybe the name Greyhost is affecting. I don't know, dude. Maybe there's too many characters that just affect the life, but it doesn't matter what time. I've been in Greyhost at 4 a.m. in the morning. I've been in Greyhost during prime time. I've been in Greyhost on a weekday, weekend. I've been on Greyhost during, I don't know, International Asian Month. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter when I go in. It's cursed. There's always lag. 2-3 second delays. Desyncs. It's unbearable. I don't know how people still go. Why people still go. I just don't know. But I guess they're chasing AP or something. But yeah, like, right, and Blackreach, same thing. Same performance. Sometimes it's pretty bad. Sometimes noticeably worse than it was before the removal of proc sets. I don't know why that is. Ravenwatch, mostly also the same, but also just like Blackreach, there's really bad points where you just can't do anything, and it's very frustrating. I'm talking about this as a PvEer, so you gotta take this into account for PvPers, right? And the second thing I want to talk about, not just in terms of performance, what is this point? Due to a higher population of players in Cyrodiil, I don't know about this, because even though they are offering double AP, it's not Meteor Mayhem, where it's widely advertised or known that there's double AP. There's been a lot, I can attest to this, there's been a lot less players in every campaign compared to the past Meteor Mayhems in Cyrodiil. I don't know what they mean. I mean, they said likely, so maybe they don't know. But there definitely has been not that many players compared to before. right? But this may also have to do with the fact that perhaps population is condensed in some campaigns at certain times. But again, like, it didn't affect anything. We can't get distracted, and we still need to conclude performance is still largely the same, or if not worse. So the removal process didn't work. The removal cross-ceiling didn't work, and which I will talk about more often. And global AoE cooldowns didn't work. So what's the problem? And the sad thing is a lot of PvP players or PvPers have given up on Cyrodiil. A lot of people I've talked to said, it's gonna always lie, whatever. It's kind of sad. So I'll talk more on that in a bit, but let's move on. We've heard from a lot of you that despite performance largely being the same, disabling proc sets has breathed new life into PvP gameplay. I don't know. Yeah, okay. It has made fights more enjoyable and fun. I will definitely say that it's much more, how should I say this, consistent in terms of knowing where the damage is coming from. In terms of reacting to the sources of damage. You're not getting dogged down anymore by, proc sets, like Unfathomable Proc, or maybe you're not seeing Crimson Twilights go off, you're not seeing Malakat, proc sets go off with bleed or with master dual wield bleeds or something like that. So it definitely, in a way, it's more consistent. It's a bit more enjoyable compared to fighting people with proc sets. At the same time, though, the removal proc sets, which has transitioned us into a max stat meta, has favored a lot specific classes more so than other classes, like Maxwork. Or, Stamblade, Stamcrow remain largely very strong. Stamblade has gone stronger. So it's exposed a lot of the gameplay balancing issues in regards to classes, which I don't think is very enjoyable for a lot of people. I feel like at the beginning of the test, and still up to the making of this video, a lot of people are still in this honeymoon period of nostalgia. Oh man, this is so good. This is like 1.6 all over again. Oh man, this is so fun. I remember it being like this, back in 2015, 2016. Oh, where I'm having so much fun. But that honeymoon period is gonna end. I can tell you this right now, that honeymoon period is gonna end here pretty soon, because already I am not just seeing individuals, including content creators or streamers, that are starting to feel the fatigue or turning their focus back on performance. I'm also seeing entire guilds complain about performance yet again. So this was what I was kind of afraid of. I felt like a lot of people kind of missed the point of this performance test and kind of let nostalgia kind of just take it away. Because the point of this test was to see if performance was affected, if performance was improved, but it has not. And again, I guess based on a lot of the feedback from a lot of players, they decided to take out proc sets. And I think that's both a bad and good thing. And I'll discuss that in a bit. To that end, we'll be leaving proc sets disabled until update 31, launching in Q3, so September, guys. So that's, right now is March, so September. See you in September, everybody else. At that point, we'll have implemented some new code so we can have more flexibility to campaign rule sets as it applies to proc sets. We'll work on applying all this to consoles as well, and we'll let you know when we have a date for this starting. And this is what I mean. It's both a bad thing and a good thing that they removed proc sets. Yeah, there are really bad proc sets combined with Malakas or whatever, and plus the high health builds with proc sets. That's pretty bad, right? At the same time, there are some proc sets that are not really considered proc sets by players, but are still considered proc sets under this testing, such as stat boosting proc sets. And I asked a bunch of PvPers, well, what do you think about removing proc sets? And everyone had a mixed response. Everyone was like, oh, well, I can see some proc sets being removed being a good thing, but not everything, right? Because there are some sets that are considered proc sets that are good for not just builds, but diversifying builds, right? So it's both a good and bad thing in my opinion. And to have 6 months of this is kind of questionable. But again, they did say that they're going to implement some new code, which I'm a little afraid of, right? So they can have more flexibility in allowing certain other proc sets, perhaps stat boosting proc sets like Seducers, or Clever Alchemist, or Eternal Vigor, or monster sets like you know, Engine Guardian. You know what I mean? And then, again, this will apply to consoles as well eventually. So console players have not had the opportunity to participate in either of the 2 rounds of performance tests this past year. Whether it was cooldowns or the removal proc sets. So they're going to have a fun time. Now that we've had time to digest a lot of data and information, we have a better idea of next steps and the work needed to produce noticeable improvements to performance in Cyrodiil. There is some hope, I suppose, here. And this is kind of going back to what I said about players giving up. Like, oh, you know, Cyrodiil's screwed. It's over. Like, forget about it. It's always going to lag. They got the data now. They got the data from the global AoE cooldowns test. They got the data from removing cross-healing. They got the data from this, which didn't improve anything. And they said here, you know what? We have a better idea now. But the work is complex and will take a fair amount of time and effort. And I guess it makes sense that they may have found something new. Maybe maybe I'm being too optimistic, but this could be a hopeful sign that maybe finally, just finally, that they found, not like a silver bullet or anything, that they found a series of factors that is contributing to performance going down the drain, almost with every patch. And on that note, I want to talk about the removal of cross-healing or the addition of cross-healing. I felt like the addition, like adding back cross-healing with the new performance test of removing proc sets was a bad idea. I've been saying it for a while. It's like in an experiment, you always want some sort of control variable. And in this case, transitioning from one experiment to the next, we should have probably kept, you know, cross-healing not added back in. Because the theory right now is this, you know, despite cross-healing not giving a significant gain in performance improvement, the theory now from a lot of players is, which I could, you know, probably somewhat subscribe to, is that the fights are going on a lot longer, which is producing a lot more server checks, which in turn is producing a lot more lag. And I agree with that in a sense of, you know, we should have this control in this experiment where we still turn off cross-healing and see what happens. Either way, I just don't agree with the fact that cross-healing was enabled again. I know a lot of players wanting cross-healing back, but at the same time, just for the sake of the performance test, because again, we can't lose sight of the whole point of this, whether as a developer or a player, right? That the whole point is about performance testing, not about what people really enjoy for now, right? But to find the causes of the performance downturn. But yeah, please note that none of the scheduled work will implement any of the changes we made on PC during past tests. And at this time, we don't plan to run any additional tests. So they're going to go back to the drawing board, I guess. They're going to try to work on whatever they found. So I'm actually really curious about what they found. And when Update 29 launches on Monday for PC, we'll be turning off double AP, but proc sets will remain disabled as mentioned above. And that's it. What do you guys think about this? I'm actually kind of curious what you think about the removal of proc sets for the next 6 months. Will you be playing Maxwork? Let me know. Thanks for Nefes and chilling, and see you guys next time.